I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Rutland City Board of School Commissioners to order. Please rise to recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, the secretary note that all are in attendance except Kathy Solsa. And is there a motion to approve the agenda? Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on the agenda? Yes.
I'd like to pull out the minutes from the June 22nd special meeting.
Okay. We can do that. Anything else on the agenda? Okay, we don't have to vote on that. We're now looking for the approval of the consent agenda, and with personnel memorandum number 623, we're adding the addendum dated August 24th, 2021, and removing the minutes of the July 22nd?
June 22nd.
June 22nd meeting. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed. Okay, so carries. Now, is there a motion on the June 22nd meetings and corrections to be made?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that the minutes reflect Speaker 7 and 12 did not yield to the 2-minute time limit.
Okay.
And the acting chair ruled that 7 could continue on for nearly 5 minutes and
Okay.
engaged with speaker number 12 in a back and forth.
Okay. All right. Do I hear a second on that?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor with the amended minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public input. Is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to the board for an item that is not on the agenda? Okay. Hearing none, we will move into our superintendent's report. Student representative report, sorry. My glasses fogged up.
Hi, this year I'll be reporting on RIS and Northeast and Northwest. RIS was all the buzz this summer with tutoring and tapestry happening. We had 81 students in for tutoring and 76 students participating in tapestry consistently. It was great to see so many students not only enjoying themselves but also demonstrating growth in their learning. We were fortunate to also see many of our teachers in the building working on developing and aligning curriculum as well as best practices for instruction. A big change we are excited about this year at RIS is the rebranding of our PBIS expectations. We expect everyone to be kind, be brave, be your best, and be you. We are extremely excited about the addition of our new assistant principal, Miss Megan Martin. She has already hit the ground running and can't wait to meet everyone on September 1st. For Northeast and Northwest, many of our Northwest and Northeast students enjoyed a summer filled with summer tapestry childcare, a fun-filled time for everyone. At the same time, some students participated in summer academic tutoring services with their teachers. This proved to be a great way for students to avoid the usual summer regression, and in some cases, students experienced new growth in preparation for the next grade level. Besides offering tutoring services for several weeks this summer, many of our teachers took part in professional development opportunities to refine and hone their skill set in order to give our students the best instructional opportunities possible. This week, both Northwest and Northeast kindergarten teachers and counselors offered Kinder Camp to incoming kindergartners. This is a wonderful time for new kindergartners to check out their new school with a family member before the year begins and enjoy a popsicle on the playground or an arts and crafts activity or a lesson about something very important to new kindergartners, riding the big yellow school bus. Northwest and Northeast held 3 different Kinder Camp sessions to engage our new students and their families in our schools. All of us at RIS, Northeast and Northwest, look forward to have a very extremely dedicated, high-skilled, and compassionate faculty and staff back in our building this upcoming week. And we cannot wait to see our beautiful students with us again on the first day of school, September 1st. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last year at RMS, 8 students participated in the Vermont Youth Council Grant Program. This resulted in the school receiving $3,500 that funded the student proposals of Snackco, the school store, and the student lounge that contains flexible seating. In addition, the former fax room has been refinished, dividing the space into 2 rooms while keeping the kitchen for general use. Newly painted walls, multiple plants, and decorations have beautified the halls and classrooms, getting ready for this school year. Beginning in April, RMS used COVID-19 relief monies to develop a recovery program for students who had not yet met the academic standards to advance to the next grade. As a result, 40 students were invited to attend learning boot camps. All but 2 participated in the program. These students received intensive support in STEM and humanities and enjoyed trips to local state parks and pools. It was an engaging learning experience for everyone. Regarding the new school year this fall, 7th grade students begin the year on Wednesday, September 1st, 8th grade students on Thursday, September 2nd, and on Friday, September 3rd, all students are welcomed back. To celebrate the start of a great school year, RMS plans to bring all students to Branbury State Park on Friday, September 10th for a fun-filled day of team building. Now moving on to RHS. The year begins with orientation days for all students. The half-days will include an abbreviated run-through the student's schedule, a brief assembly, and a meeting with their advisory. Advisory will include an activity in which students will become better acquainted with their fellow peers. This advisory is the kickoff to the focus this year on social and emotional learning. The fall sports season is well underway with students enjoying August practices and preseason. All of the teams are looking forward to another successful season. Thank you to all the coaches who are making this season possible. Finally, at the Allen Street campus, they will be holding its annual Welcome Back Outdoor Barbecue on September 30th from 4 to 6. Families will have the opportunity to ride the track, play disc golf, and connect with staff on campus. They are looking forward to a great year. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Any questions or comments? Brittany?
Yeah, how do you do?
I know she's pretty.
Yes, she is. Hi. Awesome job, that booster program. I've heard a lot about that in the community. It was a great opportunity to use the COVID funds to help branch that, the 8th graders that are going to be the rising freshmen and so on. So I think that was an awesome opportunity that we were able to help those kids get that COVID, branch from one to the other. So I thank you, and with Greg too, with the help of the transformation of those 8th graders to become rising freshmen. So that was awesome. So thank you.
Thank you, Brittany, and thanks for your support.
You're welcome.
With that.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, superintendent's report.
So I'll start with a piece of really good news. We have a Rutland High School 11th grade student who has been named to the State Board of Education, and her name is Gabrielle Lucci. She's the second RHS student to be on the state board for at least in the last couple of years. So it's a great opportunity for her and for us, and for her to represent student voice to the board. I want to talk a tiny bit about, we had an administrative retreat last week for the district administrators. We spent 2 days, and on those 2 days, each day had a topic. The first topic was we worked with our equity committee, and the administrative team had read this book through the summer, the same book that the equity committee had read, Belonging Through a Culture of Dignity. And we tried to parallel what the equity committee had done. So Scott Corbett and Patty Beaumont had led us in a book discussion, and that was combined with a look at some of the data that we see in the district on these issues that Pam Reed and Rob List led us on. We had a good discussion on both those topics and how they mix together. I'd recommend this book to the board too if you're interested in it. I know Rob has a lot of copies. The second day we spent looking at some of the COVID recovery work that we're going to be doing. And 2 of our teachers, Lorraine Bargman and Abby Brodowski, facilitated that discussion. We are looking at teaching and learning and how we're going to progress for the next few years through COVID recovery. What we're really trying to do is take where we left off, all the good work that the district had done on teaching and learning, and then build on it. So that was a discussion that helped plan for, we met actually with our teacher leader group today. Rob and Abby and Lorraine led that discussion, and with the building principals are planning at each building how that's going to go forward. So our focus this year is building a culture of dignity and belonging and making sure we improve and refine our teaching and learning. I'm going to talk about the pandemic and our response to it. I'd like to thank the board and the community and our staff for all the great work that went on last year, trying to help us get through that pandemic successfully. I especially want to thank the students for committing to doing good work last year. The reason we were successful, I think, and I look at how well this district performed through COVID, was that everybody worked together, and we truly were a good team. So collaboration was part of how that worked so well, and so we're looking to do that again this year. Last June, as you know, the governor lifted the emergency order, and the authority for all those mitigation measures that really came from the state government now rests on this body and how we're going to carry that out this year. So we want to talk about that a little bit. The board has this authority, and we want to be able to implement some of these mitigation measures in the district. The challenge this year is, everybody knows the Delta variant is back. It's caused an uptick in cases across the state and across the country. So the CDC and the Department of Health have offered a lot of guidance on how to approach this. Really, it's similar to what we were doing last year, and I want to speak specifically to some of those mitigation measures. Our responsibility as a school board and as a school system is that we have to make sure our kids are protected, safe, and healthy. We have a duty of ordinary care, which really says that we shouldn't be putting our kids to any unreasonable risk. So because we followed guidance so well last year, we really didn't have any spread in the schools. We had a lot of success with that. So we need to keep that going so we make sure our kids are healthy. So let me speak to specifics. Last year, you may have encountered contact tracing, and that was, I don't know how you experienced it. It was a lot of work from behind the scenes with our school nurses and our administrators and staff, trying to make sure we're clear about if someone was sick, who came in contact with them, and who would have to quarantine, how would that work. That went pretty well from the outside, I think, but it was a lot of work from behind the scenes. We're going to have to do that again this year. The difference will be that some of us are vaccinated, and there'll be a change in how that approach happens. But we've got guidance from the Department of Health that says you're going to do the same thing that you did last year. And the specifics as far as vaccination and whether you have to quarantine it or not, those are a little different, and they're going to be informing us on how that works. We have mitigation strategies that are in place, and the Department of Health is saying it really is the same as last year. They're really emphasizing trying to get people vaccinated. So we're encouraging people to get vaccinated. We expect that sometime in the fall, or maybe the late fall, early winter, our younger students will be able to get vaccinated. I'm sure people are following that in the news, so we'll see how that progresses. But vaccination is the key to making sure we come back to a kind of normal status quo of how we operate in schools. They've also asked that Department of Health and Agency of Education have asked that we start the school year with everybody in our buildings wearing masks. So that's how we're going to start. The twist of this year is that the Agency of Education has said when we get to a point where 80% of a building's eligible students get vaccinated, then the mask mandate could be off. So that would apply to the high school, Stafford, and the middle school. So the first 10 days for sure will all be masked, and that's for the safety of the kids. And also school buses are required to have masks. regarding remote and hybrid learning. We had that last year, and that was a practice that occurred under the emergency order. The emergency order is gone, so remote and hybrid learning really are gone the way we practiced it last year. There were some virtual opportunities prior to the pandemic for students. Those were really geared towards students who maybe had some unique health challenges or behavioral challenges, or there were times where we offered virtual learning opportunities, like we might not have offered a course at the high school that somebody else wanted to take. Like I know a student who took Latin at the high school virtually. So those kind of opportunities, like they were before, are still there. But the remote learning practices and the hybrid learning practices that we had last year are no longer. We have to go back by statute to the attendance expectations that the state requires. And the state requires that people be present for school, physically present. So that's how we will practice as the state requires. Regarding vaccination, I do want to let the public know that we have 2 more vaccination clinics that are coming up. We had one just last week. There's another one on September 9th at the high school, and another one on September 30th. So if you are age 12 and up, anybody in the public can come in and get vaccinated, not just students, and we encourage everybody to get vaccinated. So that's the summary of these mitigation practices and how we're approaching that this year. And I had written a memo to the board that's in your packet, and what I'd be asking for is for the board to support the implementation of these mitigation strategies against COVID-19, really for the health and safety of the community, and based on the recommendations of the Department of Health and the Agency of Education.
So
Are you looking for a motion?
I would say I would entertain a motion that the board support the authority of the superintendent in planning and implementing the district's COVID-19 mitigation measures.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now discussion. Allison?
Shouldn't we be granting him the authority, because the authority rests with us, and we are giving you the authority to plan and implement?
We can amend the motion.
Are we not?
It's his authority, because the board hires the superintendent, and the superintendent is to execute all measures
No,
of the district.
if you read the statute, it rests with the board,
Okay.
and the recommendations were to authorize the superintendent.
So we
So we can, is there an amendment to that motion, Kevin? No, the original has to amend. Kevin, you moved my motion?
What do I need to say?
You need to say to amend the motion instead of support the authority, grant the authority to the superintendent.
That sounds good.
Okay, now the person who seconded? Who seconded?
Second.
Okay, and you seconded, and you agreed to the amendment in the motion. Okay, is there other discussion on this motion? Okay, Tricia, then Ian.
So being that we have in the school system from the middle school and up is all I can speak to, people have had the option to have the vaccination, and people have the option to wear a mask. And talking with people within the community, I do think that there needs to be, and I know I had called you personally, there needs to be an avenue for parents who do not feel that the mask wearing is beneficial to their particular child. I know we talked about the 401, and there were other options, which there needs to be an additional option for children that maybe don't have developmental issues, but perhaps things as a result of the current pandemic and the current circumstances, which are, different and affecting children differently.
Okay, thank you. Ian?
I just had a question, Phil, about when 80% of eligible students are vaccinated, of eligible students.
Eligible students, right?
So this would not apply to primary or middle school.
Right, not yet, because they don't have a vaccine ready for that
So are they
age.
going to be masked or not masked?
They will be masked, yes.
Okay. Brandy, then Dina.
Just a question, when we're getting to that 80%, are we going to be pretty confident in that? Do we have to add, how's that going to work? Are we kind of taking it on the parents?
How's it calculated or whatever?
Yeah, just because I can kind of envision that, maybe some people will be truthful on that.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering how we're gonna be able to go about to make sure that we do hit the 80%, so that those that are unvaccinated and wearing their masks, that we're able to kind of keep the variant at bay.
Yeah, so the agency has not yet said how they're going to do that.
Okay.
They're throwing around a couple ideas of how they might maybe partner with the Department of Health to figure out what the number would be, but they haven't confirmed this is how they're going to do it.
Right, because they have all that, the Department of Health has all the data from who's been.
Okay.
Got it.
All right, Dina, then Ann.
I guess that was kind of my question about how do we determine that we're at 80%. And then in terms of visitors in the building and stuff like that, that continues to be as last year, where we're not, the interaction with the public in the building type of thing.
Yeah, we can allow visitors into the building this year. And we can have large group settings like we're having right now. So our visitors into the building would follow the measures that we're practicing.
Aaron?
Just to Tricia's point, and, it's been this all along, so if a doctor found a medical reason for anyone to not wear a mask, how did we treat that last year, and or how would we treat that this year without the remote option?
Yeah, so there's a list of these are some of the things that qualify for not having a mask. And you'd work with the nurse and the team at each school to determine whether that would be allowable or not.
Okay, so there's a system in place with allowables. Thank you.
Yes.
Tricia?
One additional. So being that school is, of course, starting up and parents want to be proactive so that they're not putting their child in a precarious situation at the start of school, are you going to be giving further guidance in the immediate future so that parents will know the avenue at which they can do that?
Yes. So I have a letter just about finished, and I was waiting for this meeting to.
Okay.
So I plan to send it out tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Yes.
Bill, the state of Vermont is the one that, because the state of emergency is done, that's why remote options are not, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know it's just what you're talking about, but it's the Department of Education that determined that remote options weren't viable.
Okay.
And there's only one district that's doing it, and it's actually not within their district. They had to buy a program into this education system. So the kids are with their kids in their district. They're actually with only virtual students.
All right, any other questions? Is there comments from anybody, even in the audience? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion made by Kevin, seconded by Stephanie, that the board grant the authority to the superintendent in planning and implementing the district COVID-19 mitigation measures, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Myself.
Okay, one nay. The motion carries. Okay. I believe now we're going to be hearing from the principals or the building administrator. Oh, did you have more?
No, that was it.
Okay. We're going to be hearing now from each of the building administrators on the opening of school coming up. And who would like to start?
Go with, you want to go primary and up?
I was going to say, I'm looking right at her, so yes.
You're always a good start.
That's right. So I will report on Northeast and Northwest in Lauren Pep's absence. And Isabella did a fine job with the report already, so I will be either repeating little bits that she said or altering my notes here. So yes, we did have a very busy summer at Northeast and Northwest with lots of projects and around student and adult learning. And in addition to that, the buildings have been worked on. The floors are shiny and beautiful, and the walls have lovely bulletin boards, so they're looking great. This morning, we had some awesome planning with primary level teacher leaders, And it was wonderful to sit around a table with some good brains and do some good thinking about recovery and improving our learning and relationships at school. Also, Northeast and Northwest are doing some work to increase learning opportunities outside, so there's been some groundwork laid for outdoor learning with things like a creation station of loose parts and building and creating outside on the grounds. A sound wall is being set up, and then sensory paths and lots of good motor opportunities and platforms for outdoor learning will be coming to both schools. Isabella mentioned our kinder camps, and we have at both schools had great opportunities for incoming kindergartners and family members. 3 different sessions. We've had 2 out of the 3. There's a lot of kids who are really excited and can barely contain themselves, and it's been fun to see them. A lot of adults who are excited about their kids coming to school. So it's been fun. It's been really fun. They've done popsicles, as been mentioned, popsicles and sitting on the buses and that sort of thing. So that's been a fun activity. So I think that about summarizes the primary buildings.
Questions? Okay, who
I
is,
just have one, actually. How many incoming kindergartners?
I can't speak for Northwest. Right now, I'm a good safe guess at Northeast is 78.
Okay, so we're usually rebalanced, right?
Yes,
Cool, thank you.
yes.
hey, Mr. Bliss, your pick.
Just keep going on. Carrie or Justine, thank you.
Here they go.
And Megan. All right. The aforementioned Megan Martin.
Good evening. My name's Justine Rulin. I'm an assistant principal, and I'm joined here tonight by my colleague and newest member of our leadership team, Megan Martin. We have brought some resources that we'd like to share with you. As Isabella highlighted in our report, we're rolling out a new PBIS kickoff. Every year we kick off our school-wide expectations. We have the 4 Bs this year: be you, be kind, be your best, and be brave. So we have some pamphlets that we'd like to share with you. These are also pamphlets that we'd like to share with our families and make sure that they are handed out to understand what's happening here at RIS. So I'll have you pass those out. There are some other really exciting things happening at our school. We had a group of teachers work on a sensory path in our 3rd grade wing, and so it's very bright and colorful, and it serves as a motor break for our students to get up and move in the hallways. And another project we're working on is our school website. We're looking to make sure that our families can recognize our faces and learn a little bit about us at RIS. So those are some pamphlets for you. Did I miss anything?
No, I think you nailed it.
Okay. Can I answer any questions? Awesome, thank you. Our PBIS coordinator, Jane Richards, made those. Thank you.
Like that you included the mural.
Yeah, it's great to have some art on our building, especially in the city, to be a part of that. It's great.
People go out and say,
Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you so much. I guess we're going to the middle school next, according to Mr. Bliss.
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
Hi, everyone. So I'm here solo because my 2 sidekicks are back at Rutland Middle School, where we just finished up our open house. Like everyone else, we have had a lot going on in our school this year, and there's been a lot that's been renovated. People have worked super hard. We have those nice shiny floors. We have, as we said, rooms that have been converted from 1 big room to 2 smaller rooms, and unfortunately that prevented many of us from putting our rooms together to start the year. So we got another week, and we will be ready on Wednesday when those students come, but right now, things are just still kind of in a state of flux. And so I have to say that the great thing was that we had over 100 people come to our open house. It was outdoors, out back. It was a little bit warm, wasn't it, Trish? A little bit warm. I'm sorry about that, but we wanted to keep COVID safe, so, but I think that those people who did tour the building said that they were really excited for what the possibilities are. So hopefully next week after, we'll be able to let some people in so that they can see what an amazing building we have right now. So we're super psyched about that. We are thrilled to welcome 4 new teachers into our school this year, and I do just want to put in, to tell people a little bit about our next unit that we'll be teaching. We have 6 PBL project-based learning units that we have created. 3 last year were taught, and then we'll teach 3 different ones this year, and then we'll keep a cycle going. This beginning one is called Self in Place, and we're very excited to have students come in, and they're actually going to be there this year, unlike last year. So bringing them in to talk about who they are as an individual, how to build community, how they are as a family member, what roles they play as part of Rutland City and Rutland County and the state of Vermont kind of thing. So kind of going out from there. Last year we did it more as a project-based, as a identity project, and that was incredibly successful for kids. So this is kind of just a culmination of that. So we're pretty excited to have kids in. And the great thing about that is we go out into the community and we look at what an amazing place Rutland City is. And it truly is an amazing city. And so we really want our students to understand the gift they have in this area. Anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Tricia?
Historically, we had kind of gotten away from field trips, so it sounds like you're trying to bring them back, and they will be going on throughout the year.
Yeah, so I tend to think of them more as like field experiences where they have a lot of walking field trips, so they're more like out into the community of Rutland. But yes, as you heard from Lauren, we are going to also bring kids to Branbury Park, is it called? State Park, I think it's called, so that we can do team building activities with them, and that's kind of a kickoff event, and we do have events that we will be looking to take kids, depending upon, what's happening more in the spring outside of Rutland County.
It's exciting because I feel like the children, they look forward to little things, but getting out maybe
sure
stuff
do.
they don't do with their family.
Yeah, yeah, and you could see how excited they all were tonight. I mean, it's so wonderful to have so many people in your building, that are so excited.
Yes.
Other questions? Aaron?
I'm just thinking about walking through the city. It's so historical, so maybe there's a lot of historical pieces, like, I don't want to say like treasure hunt, but you know what I mean, like sort of, history and research, because there's so much here. And buildings have changed over time, so that might be really cool, and again, connect.
Yeah, just to let you know, last year we did an art unit, and during that unit, we had a scavenger hunt to even look at the murals downtown. So, kids go and they find, I don't remember, like 10 out of 20 murals or something like that, and we make it a fun game. But you would be surprised at how important that is to our kids. So it is really great, and we've just really tried to get them to appreciate what's here, as I said before. So, and I see a lot of that happening right now, so it's great.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Mr. Schillinger, ready to see?
Rutland High School? Or maybe not, maybe Allen Street Campus.
Allen Street Campus.
Way to jump
Greg
in.
wanted me to go first. Good evening, everybody. Scott from Allen Street Campus. I'd like to start off telling you that extended school year was a huge success. We had kids on the lakes, we had them on the mountain, and just all over our community really enjoying our backyard. Looking forward this year to increasing experiential learning and opportunities to transfer those skills in our community, of course, while following all the COVID regulations. We are confident the pump track, the microgreen growing station, and construction of the high tunnel will keep our students engaged, and hopefully it will re-engage students that may be missing that connection to school. Our 21 goals are to continue working towards an inclusive school and embrace a growth mindset through experiential learning. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Thank you for the pump track.
Oh, you're welcome.
Kept my nephew very busy.
It's amazing.
And I
what
love the
it
tools on the outside because his chain fell off, so thank you for that.
does. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. I'm assuming it's Mr.
Serve it up, I don't know.
Okay, well, we're down to 2, so. Good evening.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. We are ready to go. We can't wait to see our students again, and we are excited for the new year. Our sports teams have begun. They're up and running through the summer. We've done some curriculum work. Our leadership team met today. We had summer tutorial and summer work getting our place internship up and running. All that being said, I'm going to narrow and just focus on one particular aspect tonight. You heard briefly tonight about our social emotional learning focus. We're expanding our traditional orientation program this year to welcome and reacclimate all of our high school students back to the school building. As you know, one of the most important aspects of school is the sense of community that gets created and comes from being in the school and being together. This year, we're going to be very deliberate and intentional about the social and emotional learning that goes into the development of that positive and thriving school community. This work is going to begin with professional development with the teachers when they arrive at the end of this week during in-service, and then continuing during both orientation as well as during advisories each week with the students. These efforts have really been championed by our school psychologist, Stacy Shortle, and supported by a generous grant from the Rutland Foundation from last year. Any questions?
Yes, Ann?
How is how are the internships going on? Are they really up and running? And the hospital specifically?
Well, they take a pause over the summer. So there was the teachers met during the summer to kind of do some of that preliminary work and make some of those initial phone calls. So it's a little too early to say exactly how we're doing in terms of placements until the students get back and actually that. But the summer sort of preliminary work puts us in a position where we can kind of hit the ground running as opposed to waiting.
I was actually really wondering about the businesses and having kids in with COVID. Are they up for it?
The ones, as of right now, yes. I mean, the ones that we've spoken to have generally been in favor of it. You know, we are so appreciative of the support from the community and specifically the business community. There's such fantastic opportunities for students to interact. I also recognize that times being what they are, sometimes businesses can't offer the support that I know they want to.
Okay, any other comments or questions, Mr. Grimes? Okay, thank you. Last but not least,
hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Connor. I am the director at Stafford. Thank you for having us tonight. There is so much to tell you, it's hard to boil it down to 1 minute. We were very busy this summer. We had a ton of middle school students in for summer tech camps, and they were full, and they were engaged. They were invigorating to have students back with that much excitement in the building. We also, to your question, we partnered with CEDAR this summer as part of a Department of Labor grant, and we had 10 students out in the workforce with paid internships. So that was really exciting for us and something new that we haven't done in the past. And gearing up for the year, we've been working with Dave Walk on a strategic plan for Stafford, kind of guiding us for the next 3 to 5 years. So we'll be doing a lot of work on that with our faculty and students. We are so excited. We have 11 high schools that will be represented in our school community this year. And we will be spending the first 2 days just building communities within our programs, not sending them to academics, just so that they can get to know one another. And we're excited to have them in person experiencing Stafford the way it should be. So.
okay. Questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we've heard from all of our schools. Looking at the budget timeline that was included in your packet tonight. Ted is here if there's any questions or concerns on the budget timeline. taking a look at it. September is projected staff, cost savings and efficiency, ERISA funding and other grants, looking at that, and it goes on from there. And I'm assuming that the Finance and Strategic Planning Committee will be meeting probably quite a bit coming up, looking at the budget as we're going forward. Are there questions or concerns about the budget timeline that's on the agenda that Ted can address? Okay.
Thank you for making my job easy tonight.
We have one item under new and old business, and, no, excuse me, we have one item under committee reports, and I turn that over to, I believe, Kevin.
I was afraid you were going to say that. We have second readings for policy number 7,340, which is regarding graduation requirements. We have gone over this before, correct?
Yes, this is the second reading.
Does anybody have any questions about the changes? And the same is true for the computer and internet use. Does anybody out there want a summary of what the changes were? Okay, good. Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the second reading of policy 7340 and 6131.
So moved. Second.
Is there a second? Any discussion on either one of these policies? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We have one item under new and old business, and that's a weighted study update. Ted?
Okay, thank you very much. So just briefly, as many of you probably know, back in early January, Governor Scott signed a bill that created a task force. And the charge of that task force is to look at developing an implementation plan for the UVM weighting study recommendations. And further to developing an action and an implementation plan, that committee is also charged with proposing legislation that would enable and enact that initiative. The task force consists of 4 members from the Senate and 4 members from the House, selected from various committees that reviewed S13 during the spring. They're also expected to talk about taking measures that would help a transition, help mitigate transitional effects. For example, it's likely that they're going to recommend implementing a transition period, not everything all at once, but potentially a phase-in over a couple of years. Because of that, it's likely that there will be no direct impact of this implementation on our fiscal '23 budget that we'll be getting this fall. However, there is a possibility that beginning in '24, fiscal year '24, we could begin to see some impact from that. The task force is really taking a very thorough and systematic approach. They've met 3 times already. They're getting testimony from 9 different agencies and organizations. I've noted some of them for you here. They're going to have another meeting this Friday, and just to give you an example, they're going to have a meeting that will have 5 hours of presentations, 20 presentations from many subject matter experts. So they're delving into a lot of important detail, and they have their work cut out for them in that respect. So their charge is to finish by December 15th of this year. Several members of the board, along with myself and Bill and Rob, are monitoring and tracking some of these efforts. We're working with the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity in that regard. It's a group of about 20 other school districts and supervisory unions who have similar interests to our own. And so we're working with them, and there's a website out there. It's on your handout. I would encourage you to go look at that. It's really excellent in terms of providing more information about the issues in the initiative. So if you have any questions for me, I'd be glad to answer them, or to try to answer them.
Questions of Ted on the weighted
Okay? But we'll keep working on that really hard because it could have a very significant benefit for the district coming up in a year or two. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
As that was our only agenda item under new and old business, when we approve the agenda, I'd like to entertain a motion.
So I move that the Rutland City School Board of Commissioners enter into executive session with Superintendent Olson, Assistant Superintendent Bliss, and 10 Clementis for the purposes of discussing negotiations and personnel matters that the general public knowledge of which would clearly place the board at a substantial disadvantage.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of entering into executive session signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. We are in executive session. We will start as soon as the room's clear.